Your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
And now, here's Eye on the News with commentator John McClory.
A week ago, supporters of bold action to defeat climate change, led by Bill McKibben's 350 organization, held a rally on the State House lawn. All the terrors of climate change and the plight of our grandchildren were trotted out to prod the legislature to act. What was interesting was that some of the climate warriors present weren't too keen on what has become the centerpiece of the climate action plan, the Clean Heat Standard. That's the plan to jack up prices of heating oil by requiring oil distributors to pay other people to assist yet other people to stop using oil heat. Richard Cowart of the Climate Council hatched the Clean Heat Standard when it dawned on the council members that their grand climate action plan didn't bring in any money to pay people to fight climate change. At the State House rally, some of the protesters expressed opposition to bills they decried as false energy solutions, including the bill that directs the Public Utility Commission to adopt Cowart's Clean Heat Standard. Notable among the protesters was Liz Medina, Executive Director of the State Labor Council, AFL-CIO. Labor had opposed the now-dead motor fuel tax because it landed on the backs of working people getting to their jobs. Now, she said climate change solutions must not be funded on the back of the working class, indicating Labor's opposition to the Clean Heat Standard as well. Are you listening, Democrats? This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
The Vermont legislature can act today to protect your most delicate organ, your eyes. Optometrists don't graduate from medical school. No hospital internship and no surgical residency. They are not medical doctors and they are not trained surgeons. But they want Vermont lawmakers to allow them to perform surgery using scalpels and lasers on and around the only eyes you'll ever have. Your state senator can keep our eyes safe by voting no on Senate Bill 158. Contact your state senators today. Tell them to vote no on Senate Bill 158. Only medical doctors and trained eye surgeons should be allowed to operate on the only eyes you'll ever have. For more information, visit www.safesurgerycoalition.org/Vermont. Paid for by the Vermont Ophthalmological Society.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting strong communities by helping local governments since 1986.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. That symphony of engines roaring in perfect harmony. It's a feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, Jerry. Oh, my word. Really, really terrible. Was that a glockenspiel, Jerry? Quote with Progressive and see if you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. No, Jerry. It's over.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
When you think about the Patriots' needs this offseason, look for one trait: explosiveness.
The stories that matter to you.
I'm not convinced that Ben Shungu, that he's not the league player of the year.
This is your home for New England sports.
Bobby Dahlbeck playing third base this year? Now that is interesting.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Brady Farkas show on a Friday right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Plenty to get to today. We go up until 6:45, and then we give way to high school basketball. Division II boys quarterfinals. Mount Abraham at Montpelier. Our own Brent Curtis will be on the call at 6:45. We're going to be joined today by Fairfax, Vermont native, longtime NASCAR pit crew member Rick Pigeon. He's going to be with me at 6:45 or 5:45 rather. Remember, we have NASCAR coverage coming up on Sunday. Our Cup Series coverage continues as we go on the road to Vegas. So we'll have that coverage for you Sunday at 1:30. But Rick Pigeon with us at 5:45. We got plenty of big news on the Patriots and the situation with J.C. Jackson as well. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. That's 802-585-3026. That's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can also get in on our Facebook live stream as well as our YouTube live stream just by commenting there. Let's waste no time, everybody. Lego.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. The America East coaches got it wrong today. Ben Shungu, our guy, South Burlington native, Rice Memorial High School product, he deserved, as I've been telling you for weeks, to win America East Conference Player of the Year. And he didn't. I've been telling you for a month that Ben Shungu is the Conference Player of the Year. I thought he had the solidifying moment against Binghamton a couple of weeks ago. UVM goes 17-1 in the league. I was convinced that Shungu's the Player of the Year. And today the league awards come out and the league coaches voted that he wasn't. I am flabbergasted by this decision. Now, Ryan Davis, also of UVM, he did win the League Player of the Year award, second straight year. And I don't want to take anything away from him. Ryan Davis is a great player. He's a UVM guy as well. So I'm certainly happy that it stayed in the family. But that said, the league coaches got it wrong. Ben Shungu earned and deserved that award, and he earned and deserved that league recognition. He should be today the Conference Player of the Year. I'm not going to bury you all in numbers, but let's just run through this kind of very quickly. Davis averaged 17.5 points a game in the league. Shungu averaged 17.4. Essentially a wash there. Davis is a big guy. He averaged more rebounds, as you'd expect. Shungu was a guard. He averaged more assists, as you would expect. Davis was better at the free throw line. Benny was far better from three. So what I'm telling you, offensively, they're pretty much evenly split. Offensively, it's pretty much a wash. So why do I give the award to Shungu? Two reasons. Defensive ability and availability. Ben Shungu is on the all-defensive team this year. He's doing everything. Ryan Davis was not. Ryan Davis had great defensive moments. A couple of big blocks I remember against UMass Lowell in that game on the road that got tenuous late. But Ben Shungu is, I think, 7th in the league in steals per game. He is one of the top defenders in the America East Conference. Offensively, they're split. Offensively, it's basically a wash. Defensively, Ben Shungu is on the all-defensive team. He's 7th in the league in steals per game. He's playing both sides of the floor in a way that Ryan Davis isn't. This is not just an offensive award. It's a most valuable player award. And Ben Shungu is the most valuable player. He was the most complete player. He was the most well-rounded player, the most all-around player in the America East Conference this year. He was great offensively, 17.4 points per game. He also was great defensively, and he was always available. It's one of the biggest cliches that people use. The best ability is availability, and Ben Shungu had it. He played all 18 games in the league schedule, Ryan Davis missed 3. Ryan Davis missed 3 games inside the league season. Ben Shungu played all 18. Why are we not today congratulating Ben Shungu on being the league player of the year? Because I'm flummoxed. I have no idea why. Is it reputation? Is it that Davis won the award last year, so there's this reputation of him as the best player in the league? This ain't last year. This ain't last year. This is this year. And Ben Shungu is the most complete player this year. Offense, wash. Defense, better. He's a guard. He's got the ball in his hands more often than Davis does, and he always played. Jim in Richmond says 8 of the last 10 America East Player of the Year awards were forwards. I believe that to be true. I don't have that off the top of my head, but Jameel Warney of Stony Brook won 3 of them. So, I mean, he was a big guy. Anthony Lamb won 2, and Davis has won 2. So, I mean, that's 7 right there. Trey Bell Haynes of Vermont was probably the 2 guards he's referring to. I mean, so that makes sense, but Jameel Warney was dominant, and Anthony Lamb was dominant. I don't believe that Ryan Davis was significantly more dominant than Ben Shungu. They're both great, and I'm happy it stayed in the family. This is 6 consecutive years that a UVM player has won this award. 2 for Bell Haynes, 2 for Lamb, and 2 for Davis. So I'm happy that it stayed in the green and gold, but they just got it wrong. League coaches who are prepared for everything, who watch tape. This isn't the media that voted on this. This isn't a fan award. The league coaches voted on this award, and they didn't see that Ben Shungu is the most valuable player. I don't understand. And I texted a league assistant 2 weeks ago or so, and they were convinced that Shungu was going to win the award. I'm not the only one who thought that this was coming. Hamlet Tibbs, who's a UAlbany assistant now, he came on our show a month ago, and he said that Benny's not only one of the best players in the America East, he said this.
Well, it's no surprise. He puts a lot of work into his team and working on his craft. And obviously, he's playing at a really high level. And, it's all started with him putting the work in, behind closed doors, and nobody seen him put that extra time and extra work in. He's turned himself into one of the best guards in the country.
One of the best guards in the country, not even the America East, one of the best guards in the country, and he can't win League Player of the Year. I think it really is a damn shame. Ryan Davis already has that hardware. This year, I think was Benny Shungu's. Offensively great, defensively tenacious, as a guard has the ball in his hands all the time. He played more than 100 minutes in conference than Davis did. Played in every game. Davis didn't. To me, Ben Shungu is the player of the year. I just can't get over this. Give me a Ben Shungu highlight just for the sake of it. He deserves it today.
I'm going to go ahead and see. Here comes Ryan Davis with a speed. Oh, there's a slip. Oh, boy, Ben Shungu for 3. He got it at the buzzer! Oh, my! Ben Shungu! Intercoby! He gets it!
That was one from that tournament back in Florida at the beginning of the year. That guy, I remember we kind of ribbed that guy a bit for that call. Give me another Benny's highlight with a slightly better call, please.
Oh, outlet pass to Ben Shungu, and he takes advantage with the icing on the cake. A slam for the man from Burlington.
Yes, Ben Shungu should have been the player of the year. I mean, reputation, I guess, is what gave it to Davis, but the coaches, to me, just got this wrong. Couple of texts here. Dave in South Burlington on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, which is 802-585-3026, says Davis does tend to dominate the game when he's playing, but you actually had me sold on Shungu. Yes, when Davis is playing, he's excellent, but he didn't play every game. Benny did, and Benny also plays better defense. Yeah, it played every game. So no one's going to convince me that Benny didn't get jobbed here. Mark in Burlington, did you see the quote from John Becker about what Davis said, and I did. So if you didn't see this, here's what it is. Ryan Davis sent a text message to John Becker saying, hey, Coach, I don't know if they honor the awards at the first playoff game or not, but if they do you think we can get them to honor Benny as well? Or even say we were co-players of the year. I want to recognize Benny in the season he is having. That's incredibly classy. I get nothing in me trying to prop up Ben Shungu. I don't want it to sound like I'm disparaging Ryan Davis. Ryan Davis is an excellent player, and by all accounts, a great student athlete, in the best of the term. So that right there is indicative of how close this team is, of the relationships that this team has built, of the togetherness that they feel. I applaud Ryan Davis for doing that. That said, I don't think the league is going to do it. If they had wanted to name co-players of the year, they would have named co-players of the year. They're not going to hand out a charity co-player of the year award just because Ryan Davis wants it. I appreciate it. It's a good teammate. It's good support for your guy. It's a nice gesture, and I'm going to look fondly at Ryan Davis because of it, but it's not going to happen. Benny's on the first team, and he's on the all-defensive team. It's still great accomplishments for a guy who started his career as a redshirt walk-on who didn't even have a scholarship, and now, 6 years later, is in the conversation for League Player of the Year. In my opinion, he just should have won it. Other notes on UVM, Aaron Deloney's on the he's the sixth man of the year. He had unbelievable, I think 7 games. 7 games for Deloney off the bench in double figures this year. And he had some of the instant offense games where he put up 20 I think he had 20 against NJIT. It was 23 points, 24 points, 23 in the first half, and he was 8 for 8 from the floor. So Deloney, he's sixth man of the year. Since I've been here, and maybe Jim in Richmond, who's a UVM basketball expert, maybe he can correct me. Since I've been here, I believe that Ben Shungu, Cam Ward, Dre Wills have all won sixth man of the year. So UVM has a history of producing players in that award. And so Benny's on the first team and the all-defensive team. Davis, the player of the year. Deloney, the sixth man of the year. Isaiah Powell got on the third team. And John Becker got coach of the year. So great hardware day for the Catamounts. They'll open up their conference tournament on Sunday afternoon. They will host NJIT in a game at Patrick Gym at 2:30. A lot of people on the text line, by the way, commenting on my look. Yes, I shaved. Yes, I'm wearing a nice shirt. People telling me that I'm looking dapper, wondering if WDEV has instituted a dress code. No, it's just a nice Friday. Just a nice Friday. I'm wearing a different shirt, and yes, I did shave. I'm allowed to shave just like all of you. But thank you for noticing. I appreciate all of you that are watching on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. So Joe really wants to talk about J.C. Jackson and the Patriots. We're going to get to that in the 6 o'clock hour. But when we come back, NASCAR Cup Series continues this week in Vegas. Rick Pigeon, a Vermont native, 23 years, a NASCAR pit crew member. He's going to join me next on WDEV AM and FM.
Hello, I'm Penny Hester Ingram, a speech-language pathologist at Copley Hospital. I treat children and adults for a broad range of communication disorders, including voice issues, swallowing disorders, and problems with articulation, fluency, comprehension, and cognitive abilities. The first step in developing a treatment plan is assessing the patient's strengths and needs. I do this through an evaluation, which includes discussing the patient's history, observing the problems, and discussing the patient's goals as well as that of the family. Treatment is a step-by-step process. Families also play a vital role in treatment as they help to bring the techniques used in the clinic to the home. If you or a family member could benefit from the services offered through Copley Hospital's Speech-Language Pathology Department, call 802-888-8303
or log on to copleyvt.org.
At Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems, they specialize in all things basementy. Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems is the leading basement waterproofing, crawl space, and moisture control and foundation repair contractor in Vermont and New Hampshire. Their state-of-the-art features will help get the water out of your basement and keep your basement dry now while preventing basement leaks and flooding far into the future. Let them weatherize your drafty crawl spaces and basements using spray foam insulation. Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems. They specialize in all things basement-y.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond. Price drop on fun and fitness deals on the WDEV Trading Post online marketplace. Get in shape with a 1-year membership to the Swimming Hole and Stowe. Normally $850, now just $350. That's less than $1 a day. A Twin City Family Fun Center $50 gift card is half priced at $25. And a 1-year individual membership to Modio Rec and Randolph is just $150. Check out all the deals on our website at WDEVradio.com.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back to the Brady Farkas Show right here on this Friday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. We are your racing station, and we are in the throes now of the NASCAR season. We're going to have our coverage coming up from Las Vegas on Sunday as we continue with our coverage of the NASCAR Cup Series. And now we're joined by a guy I love talking to. It's Rick Pigeon, longtime NASCAR pit crew member. He's worked with Kurt Busch, helped him win a Daytona 500. He's worked with the youngster, Chase Briscoe, and he's a Fairfax, Vermont native. Rick, thanks for being with us again. How are you?
I'm great, Brady. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being with us. I got to plead ignorance or stupidity. But 2 weeks ago, when we were having our coverage of Daytona, I'm following the Briscoe car like a hawk all day long. I'm looking at it. I'm texting people. I'm like, Briscoe's in fourth. Briscoe's out of the top 10. Briscoe's back in the top 5. And the reason why is because I was like, there's a Vermonter on Briscoe's pit crew. Only to find out you stepped aside from the pit crew world this year. Well, what happened?
Buddy, it was time. It's time. I'm an old man now, gray in the beard. It was time for me to step aside and let these youngsters go at it.
23 years a NASCAR pit crew member. Why is it a young person's game? Educate me.
Getting up in the morning, Brady. I mean, you get up and your legs hurt, your back hurts, and your shoulders hurt. Sometimes you just get sick of hurting.
So now you've taken on a different role at Stewart-Haas Racing, of which Briscoe is a part of. So you're still in the Briscoe family, but what's your exact role right now at Stewart-Haas?
So with this new car comes a new set of challenges, different parts, different, supply chain issues and things like that. And it was time for me to, kind of focus 100% on all that stuff. It's because it's new to everybody, right? So it's not only are their procedures different, the parts are different, going through some changes here in the shop, how we put cars together. So it was time for me to focus solely on that, which in turn, I have my small group of guys here that assemble all the parts, and just working with those guys a lot closer to kind of learn what they want and what they need in the different parts to put these things together. So more of a management role, but it's been good. I mean, it's been a smooth transition, a few bumps in the road, but it's been good.
So very much an administrative managerial role. How often do you make it down to a track? How often are those guys reaching out to you for guidance?
A lot, I haven't been to a few tests just to see the workings of this car at the racetrack. It's been fun. It's had its challenges. I'll probably go to a couple races this year. Bring my son Jace. Just let him scope it out and see how things go. And but I'm looking forward to it.
Stewart-Haas Racing is one of the most accomplished teams in the sport. I think I read 90 overall Cup Series wins, multiple driver championships that Stewart-Haas Racing has been associated with. From your vantage point, now that you're kind of up above in the company, what makes this team so special?
I think the group of guys we have here. We're all, when a lot of us, when this whole deal started at SHR, in 2009, a lot of the core guys are still here. So, when Tony and Gene assembled this team, there was a bunch of racers to start with. There wasn't a lot of politics. There wasn't, that atmosphere. It was just a bunch of guys that want to go out and win races, and I think that's not only with the new people that we brought in and our drivers, that's, there's no silver spoon kids. These are all racers, which makes it fun for everybody. And, last year we had our struggles, but I think this year it's guns blazing, and let's get some more wins.
We're talking with Rick Pigeon, Fairfax, Vermont native, longtime NASCAR pit crew member, rather. We got our coverage coming from Vegas coming up on Sunday. Now Rick's in the administrative side of things over at Stewart Haas Racing. I made a joke, hey, I might be stupid earlier, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be something that I'm not. The audience knows I'm just getting into racing since I got to WDEV. I'm just getting into racing since I got to WDEV. So tell me, educate me a little further. How has NASCAR changed over the 25 years that you've been involved?
Leaps and bounds. I think you have one of the best teachers you could possibly tap in, Dave Moody. Whenever you need to get on the straight and narrow, just give him a call. But it's, from all aspects, the technical side of it, the actual now the pit stop choreography is different. The size of the teams are different. The practice times are different. The structure of the races are different. Before it was just, we'd go out there. All right, it's a 400-mile race. If there's no cautions, you're going to run 400 miles in a row and nothing to break it up. Now we have stage racing, and we have one lug pit stops, which is different. But I think growth is good, and I think if what everybody saw on Sunday, if this is the direction we're headed with the race that they saw, there was a few bumps, but I think that was one of the best races I've seen in years. So I think growth is good, and the racing, I think, is only going to get better.
We've seen advancements to the cars themselves. We've seen changes to formats of races. We saw the Clash at the Coliseum earlier this season before Daytona. What are some of the advancements or some of the things that NASCAR has tried that you're a fan of?
Dirt racing. I think that's a game changer. I think it brings in all the guys. They've been pavement guys their whole life. Now the car's sideways and no traction. And I think that levels the playing field a little there's a lot of guys that came from dirt that are in the series now. And, Kyle Larson, for example, I'd say he's picked up to it pretty well. It's just, I think the difference in the racetracks, and not just the standard cookie cutter 1.5 mile racetracks, getting away from those, more short tracks, more road courses. The new fans, I don't think, want to see cars go around on a pavement track for 4 hours in a circle and it'd be the same race 10 or 12 races out of the year. I think they want to see something different. I think with the new schedule, I think they have everything they need.
I know when you were in Vermont, if I'm remembering correctly, you were a Catamount Speedway guy. Am I right in that?
I was a Thunder Road guy.
Okay, Steve Phelps was a Catamount Speedway guy then. Okay, so you were a Thunder Road guy, even better. So last year was the first year I really got into Thunder Road. It was my first summer that I worked at WDEV. So I'm following the Thursday night races, and I'm learning the drivers, and I'm interviewing some of the drivers. And there's some very, very good drivers here at Thunder Road. And I kind of just wondered out loud to myself, why is it that some of these drivers don't push on and go to higher levels of the sport? And the answer I kept getting was, it's really expensive to be a racer, and it's really expensive to do it full time. So talk to me about just kind of the grind and what resources you need available to get to the level that you're at.
Well, I think it's twofold. I think drivers and pit crew members are a lot, really different. But as far as drivers are concerned, you can get to the late model level, and back in the day, the Busch North Series, was kind of your next step. Well, now those series kind of go away. So it's a big jump from late models to trucks. So in order to make that step, you have to bring either you're winning every race you're possibly in, or you have money to back you to pay for that truck ride you're in.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hard part. And there's just so many grassroots racing divisions that people pull from. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of daddy racing and late model racing and things like that you always have the best of the best equipment. But it's the guys that can drive the junk the best, I think, are the best guys that kind of move up through the ranks. just because they're not used to having the best of the best equipment. They can do very well with lease. And I think that's the biggest difference now, but definitely you got to have the cash to play.
You mentioned Dave Moody, and of course he used to work at WDEV, so I've gotten to know Dave and talked with him, and he and I interact on social media a bunch. But also being a Thunder Road and a NASCAR guy, I got to imagine you have a Ken Squire story or two, and Ken is the owner of our station, so I got to imagine you've come across Ken multiple times in your career.
Back when I was racing the ACT series, Ken would walk through the garage and things like that, and it was, that was Ken Squire. That was, you heard him on TV, you've heard him announce the Daytona 500, and he was kind of just usually he was walking arm in arm with Tom Curley, so it was like those, you kind of just, those two are royalty. So I didn't really, back in the day, I didn't have very many dealings with Ken. He was kind of just that stigma that would walk through the garage, and you're like, man, that's Ken Squire.
Well, very, very cool. And we're lucky to see Ken here almost every day in the office still. So we're talking with Rick Pigeon here of the Stewart-Haas Racing Team. By the way, I just saw that Tony Stewart put up his house in Indiana for sale. $30 million. It's got a 2-story waterfall and a fully stocked trout pond or something. Have you ever been to this house?
Are you buying? I have not. I've never been to his house. I've heard stories about it. It's the Bass Pro Shops of Indiana, I would probably want to call it. It's pretty, I'd say it's a little overkill. I don't think anything that big anytime soon.
I was saying I'm not buying it. I was hoping if you bought it, could I get an invite sometime?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, Rick, when I know you don't get to Vermont often at this point, but you are a Fairfax native. Whenever you do get back, what's the first thing you want to do when you get back to Vermont? Outside of seeing certain people, what's the thing you miss most? Restaurant you want to go to, thing you want to do? What's the thing that kind of the first thing you want to put on the agenda?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I haven't been back in so long. I don't think I've got a good answer for that, Brady.
Okay.
I think now that I have the time to go on the weekends, because that opportunity now where I can fly up Thursday with the team and just go hang out with the family and stuff like that over the course of the weekend. Maybe on my drive from New Hampshire back to Fairfax, I can stop in at Thunder Road. So I think that would be the cool part for me. Now, finally, when I have some time, I'd really like to get back there just to see what that place is like now.
Well, it's really, really cool. And like I said, last year was the first year I've really gotten into it, but I've just heard about so many advancements and the new wall in the back there to make it safer. And, I thought it was a lot of fun last year. So you come up, and we're doing 6 or 7 Thunder Road broadcasts this year on WDEV. So I'll come out with you. We'll watch together.
Nice. I like it.
Rick Pigeon, NASCAR, longtime pit crew member, now Stewart-Haas Racing on the administrative side, one of the best teams in the sport. We'll have our coverage from Vegas coming up here this Sunday as the NASCAR season continues on. Rick, I appreciate the time as always, and we'll do it again here later in the year.
All right, Brady. Thank you, bud. Have a good day.
You too. Rick Pigeon. I love talking to Rick Pigeon. But, I'm so embarrassed. I thought he was on the Briscoe team as we speak. But, no, he's up in the office. He's graduated up there. He said it's a young person's game. So, there you go. Bob in Moncton says, thank you for some NASCAR. Go Truex. You're welcome, Bob. A couple other messages on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Joe says, love the Rick Pigeon interview. A longtime NASCAR fan. You're welcome, Joe. Frank's happy as well. Everybody's happy. Yes, we will talk some NASCAR, people. I understand where I work, who I work for, and what our listener base likes. So Rick Pigeon won't be the only NASCAR interview that we do for the course of the NASCAR season. I do love interviewing Rick, though. Great guy, a lot of fun, and I don't know that he'd really want to hang out with me at Thunder Road. That might have just been a platitude, but I'd hang out with Rick on Bud Hill or something. We'd hang out there and, have some fun together. So I'd like him to get the Tony Stewart house. That's what I'd like him to get to, though. So, all right. The Patriots apparently are going to let J.C. Jackson test free agency. That is just a huge mistake on multiple levels. I'll tell you why. That's next on the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington. It's 1 a.m. in Ukraine.
The sounds of sirens and gunfire in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv, with a large Russian military convoy now about 15 miles away. The Russians are also closing in on several other major cities.
The days to come are likely to be worse.
A concern echoed by Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Brussels, meeting with NATO and European allies.
We have to sustain this until the war is over, the Russian forces leave, the Ukrainian people regain their independence.
CBS's Natalie Brand reporting the push to ban Russian oil is gaining support.
Earlier this week, the White House rejected calls to ban Russian oil imports, arguing it would only increase the price Americans pay at the pump. But as the idea has gained bipartisan traction on Capitol Hill, the press secretary now says this.
We are looking at options we could take right now to cut U.S. consumption of Russian energy.
Jen Psaki wouldn't detail those options or speak to speculation that a possible nuclear deal with Iran, which is said to be close, might lead to a flow that would offset a ban on Russian oil. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
There are already food shortages in Ukraine. Nainmuk with the World Central Kitchen.
We're starting to already see in Lviv shortages. Certain suppliers, food suppliers, are running out. And this is the peaceful area. So you can imagine some of the other parts of Ukraine that are really being bombarded and being hit hard right now.
Russia and Ukraine are expected to meet again on Monday for another round of talks. Florida will soon have a new restrictive abortion law. Here's CBS's Weisha Zhang.
Florida's governor signaled full support for the bill passed by the state legislature, banning most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy.
I think the protections are warranted, and I think that we'll be able to sign that in short order.
The measure would not apply in cases when the mother is at risk of death or irreversible physical impairment, or if the fetus has a fatal abnormality that is identified by two physicians.
President Biden is pushing for more products to be made in America.
To raise the amount of domestic content required to be considered made in America from 55% to 75%.
He also announced that Siemens will be investing $54 million to support the production of electrical equipment products, which will create 300 manufacturing jobs. And Amtrak engineers been cleared of charges related to a deadly high-speed derailment that left 8 people dead and hundreds injured in Philadelphia in 2015. Markets ending the trading week in the red. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But to cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get where you want to go. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks Nyquil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. Ah, that's better. Nyquil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed.
Fill up your tank lately?
The White House is under increasing pressure to ban oil imports from Russia as gas prices have soared this week, now above $4 a gallon in most places. Adam Dager runs some stores in Fort Wayne, Indiana that sell gas. He says it's been bad for business.
It impacts your inside sales because people are less apt to even come inside because they just, gave their firstborn child for a tank of gas.
In some places, gas prices are now topping all-time highs set back in 2008. Some refineries have slightly increased capacity. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Natural Light just released new vintage cans designed just like their original from 1977. They're celebrating with a very retro promotion. You get a mullet, we give you a beer. Yes, if you can grow it, they'll send you beer every month for as long as you keep business in front, party in the back. Post a pic of that glorious mullet on Twitter before March 31st to qualify. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
extra joke.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Reminder, we go up until 6:45, and then we've got the boys Division II quarterfinals. Mount Abraham on the road at Montpelier. Coverage begins at 6:45 with the pregame show. Tip-off is 7 o'clock. Brent Curtis is on the call. A couple more texts coming in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line saying that how much everybody liked the Rick Pigeon interview, so you are welcome for that. Rick is awesome. We will bring him on again. Let's move over to the Patriots, and the news out of the NFL Combine today comes from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, who says the Patriots are not they're not likely to franchise tag J.C. Jackson, their star defensive back. He adds that they are likely to then let him test free agency as a result of that. If the Patriots let J.C. Jackson go completely, and this certainly looks like it's trending that way, right? If they're not going to tag him, they're going to let him go to free agency. He's clearly going to get a big offer from somebody that doesn't sound like it's going to be the Patriots. So if they let J.C. Jackson go to another team, they are making a huge mistake, an absolute huge mistake. And it would be a huge mistake for a few different reasons. One, J.C. Jackson is good. Two, you don't have a replacement for J.C. Jackson. And three, it sends a bad message to the rest of your football team. Those are the three reasons. I'll go through them, but those are the three that you need to know. J.C. Jackson's good, you don't have a replacement, and it sends a bad message. This is bad on multiple different levels. This is a poor decision by the Patriots on multiple different levels. If you want to win at the level that the Patriots want to win, if you want to win at the level that Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick are used to winning, and if you want to win at the level that we want the Patriots to win at, you need good players. Simply put, don't overthink this. Before you think about money and draft picks and this, that, and learning about prospects, don't oversimplify it. If you want to win at that level, you need good players. And you need to accumulate as many good players as you possibly can. And if you lose J.C. Jackson, that takes away one of your good players. Again, don't overthink it. You need good players to win. J.C. Jackson is good. You lose him, you have one less good player. The Bills have good players. They're looking to add more of them. The Bills have good receivers that need covering. And now you're going to be hampered in your efforts to do just that. The Chiefs have good players. The Bengals have good players. The Chargers, the Browns, the Ravens, the Broncos, they all are in the AFC, and they all have good players, and they're all actively trying to get better. And if and when you let J.C. Jackson go, then you are getting a little bit worse, and you're getting a little bit further away from the top. And that does not sit well with me. The Patriots made the playoffs last year. The Patriots were close to winning a division last year. They shouldn't be thought of as that far away from the upper echelon in the AFC, but here they are. They're clearly in tier number 2, and if you let J.C. Jackson go, one of your good players, arguably your best player last year, certainly on defense, then you're getting further and further from your goal. And I don't know about you, but my goal when I go into an off season is to figure out how I can take 2 steps forward. And losing J.C. Jackson would be taking one giant step backwards. And to make matters worse, you don't have anywhere to turn to. If you're Bill Belichick and you're that defense, you have nowhere to turn to if you let J.C. Jackson go. You can't let him go without having a proper plan in place, and the Patriots evidently don't have that plan. I was listening to Albert Breer on NBC Sports Boston the other day,
The trade for Aqib Talib. Talib gets replaced by Revis. Revis gets replaced by Butler. Butler gets replaced by Gilmore. And then last year, I think J.C. Jackson did a nice job of sort of slotting in as that number one corner. They've had really good man-to-man corners for a long time here. So letting J.C. Jackson go, I think, would sort of necessitate a change there.
What Breer said is important on two different fronts. Let's start with the first. The Patriots have always had a plan. They've always had a succession plan in the event that they were going to let a defensive back go, and they don't have that now. Like, who are you replacing J.C. Jackson with? Because the guy who you'd replace him with, he's not on your roster right now. Jalen Mills is a slot corner. He's not a lockdown number one outside threat. Remember when he had to play out there earlier in the year this year? He struggled. When he moved to the slot, he was much, much better. Jonathan Jones, slot corner, also a free agent. So even if you bring him back, he's not the answer on the outside. Miles Bryant, Sean Wade, like, where are you turning to replace Jackson? Okay, because to Breer's point, you had Talib, you moved on, you got Revis. Okay, I can live with that. You had Revis, you moved on, you got Butler. Okay, that worked. You had Butler, you got moved on, you got Gilmore. Okay. Had Gilmore, moved on, you had Jackson. Now we've reached the end of the line. You have Jackson, and now nobody else. So what are your options? Because option one is replace him internally. That's what you've done in the past. You don't have that. Option two is go sign a star. J.C. Jackson is the star. J.C. Jackson is the top free agent DB on the market. If you're not going to pay to keep him, then, I mean, all I'm doing is getting lesser DB on the free agent market. So that's out. And then the third is draft. So I've been telling you for weeks, I want the Patriots to draft a wide receiver in round 1 at pick 21. And now are they going to go blow that up? Go tear apart that idea rather and go draft a DB at pick number 21? That doesn't seem smart to me. They need help at wide receiver. They need explosive offensive players. And here you are potentially having to go and ruin and thwart that plan to go get a DB when I already had a DB that apparently I don't want to pay. And Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston basically said the exact same thing.
There aren't many avenues to acquire that guy that would be a legitimate replacement for J.C. Jackson. He's not on the roster. Well, free agency is not loaded at that position, and you might be drafting a guy really early and hoping that he can slot in and do.
Yeah, and you're hoping. You're sitting there and hoping that you could draft a guy as good as J.C. Jackson. I don't need to do that. I've got J.C. Jackson. If you don't want to sign him to 4 years, then tag him and play him. If you really want to just let him go, then tag him and trade him and get something of value where maybe you bring in an extra pick or two so you can go draft a DB. But just letting him walk outright, not smart. Not smart. Why were we okay last year? Why were the Patriots okay last year with Patrick Chung retiring? Simple. You had Kyle Duggar. You had the answer. You had the succession plan in place. You don't have that this year. You have reached the end of the line on the defensive back train. J.C. Jackson's it. You don't have the undrafted DB that we think is a star. Miles Bryant is good. Miles Bryant got torched in the playoffs. The Bills went after Miles Bryant constantly all game long. He is not a suitable replacement for J.C. Jackson. Sean Wade, who they acquired from Baltimore, who I barely remember playing last year, is not the answer. Joejuan Williams is probably going to get cut. He's much more likely to get cut than he is to be a suitable replacement for Jackson. You've reached the end of the defensive back train. Jackson is the guy. He is where it stops. He should be on this roster next year. And letting him go would be a big-time mistake. And the third and final reason it would be a mistake, this sends a really bad message to your football team. I do not like the message that this sends. The Patriots believe that they are right there with the Bills. The Patriots players believe it. They believe that had they not faded down the stretch and not been, lack of focus after the bye week, they believe they're right there with Buffalo. They're thinking they're one or two pieces away from catching and beating the Bills, and you have now made yourself one piece further away from them. That cannot sit well with a National Football League roster. This cannot sit well. J.C. Jackson, this is not the Stephon Gilmore situation. Jackson's not 30 years old and injured. I understand why you don't want to pay that guy. J.C. Jackson is 26. He's in the prime of his career. I don't even know that he's entered the prime of his career yet. And if you're not willing to pay that guy who leads the National Football League in interceptions since 2018, who's healthy and who's only 26 years old, who are you willing to pay? That's not a message you want to send to your football team. And one more time, Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston, he tells us, rival executives around the league think the Patriots need to keep Jackson. We can see the Patriots need to keep Jackson. Why can't the Patriots see it?
Well, I've just spoken to coaches that feel like this is not just a priority, this is a necessity, that they keep J.C. Jackson if they want to play the style of defense that they've played for so long. You have to have, according to these people I've spoken to, you have to have at least one legitimate, very capable man-to-man press corner. Because the style of defense that they play requires at least one.
Yeah, and to Breer's point earlier, not only are you losing a good player, you have to change up your whole style of defense here. The style of defense that Bill Belichick has perfected, do you have to change it up now, or do you just simply then not have good enough players to play that way, and you're going to get torched all season long next year? Not a fan of this development. I really thought the Patriots would be smart enough to recognize that J.C. Jackson is good and valuable. If they had planned it better, like they have in the past, I would have been okay if they let J.C. Jackson go. I was okay when they let Malcolm Butler go. They had gotten Stephon Gilmore. That was okay. This is not. Joe says this is the worst thing the Patriots could have done. Now they've probably offended Jackson so much he won't even want to sign there. He'll sign with whoever pays the most money, but it's clear if the Patriots don't want to pay the franchise tag, they don't want to pay him at the top of the market. So it's just he'll sign for whoever sends the most money. It's just not going to be the Patriots. The only way this works for the Pats is if Jackson goes to the market, doesn't get the bites that he wants money-wise, and then somehow comes back to the Patriots on a lesser deal, but I really don't see any way that happens. Quarterbacks and defensive backs, they get paid. Shaquille Griffin last year got paid. Somebody, Detroit, somebody's going to throw money. Houston, Detroit, whoever's got the cash, Jacksonville, they'll throw money at J.C. Jackson, and he'll be interested in that. So this is not going to be where he just goes to the market and comes back with his tail between his legs. That's not going to be the case at all. So 802-585-3026 is the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Ralph says having J.C. Jackson would not be enough for them anyways. Ralph, so what do you want them to do? You want them to not try? You want them to draft a couple of 6th and 7th rounders, put them on the outside and say, here, go cover Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis. Good luck. I don't. This Patriots team won 10 games last year. I expect them to do all they can to win more than that this year. I don't know that they'll actually achieve it. I have my questions about Mac Jones. You know that. But they should be doing everything they can to improve upon last year's finish. And right now, all they've done by making this decision, apparently, is get worse. All right, we do this every single day. Let's get to Who's Saying What.
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones, good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What? Brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. If you want that unlimited car wash package, it's $20 a month. If you want just one free car wash, text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. That's 30 followed by 400. Again, that is Vermont Laser Wash bringing us Who's Saying What. Former Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels speaking this week at the NFL Combine. He spoke about a multitude of topics, including his time in New England, about why he took the job in Vegas with the Raiders, and he also said this about Mac Jones.
I'm not sure I've been around a more mature young football player in terms of understanding the game and being able to process at such a speed and such a level that Mac was. So I don't have any doubt that Mac's going to meet the challenge head on. I wish him nothing but the best, and I'll be pulling for him except when he plays Vegas next year.
That's all really good to hear. It goes along with everything that we've heard about Mac Jones for the last 10 months, right? He's well prepared. He studies hard. He works hard. He wants it bad. He processes well. And that's all really important. And those traits and those qualities and those habits, they're all things that I would desire my quarterback to have. But at some point, the rubber is going to meet the road, and it's not going to be a written test anymore. It's going to be a performance task that you have to ace. And I don't trust that Mac Jones can ace it consistently. By the way, that quote is one of my all-time favorites. My high school basketball coach, I'm a smart guy, sometimes lack common sense, but I was book smart, and so I wasn't always great at reading defenses and stuff in the moment. I could tell you what you were supposed to do after the fact, but actually doing it, I tend to screw up. And my coach would say, Farkas, it's a written test. It's a performance task. It's not a written test. You're great on the written test, but it's a performance task. Mac Jones is great. He's great from the neck up. I know that, but at some point, you've got to be able to do it in a game. And at some point, Mac Jones's physical deficiencies, they're not going to be there at the same level that his head is at. Mac is going to know where the ball is supposed to go, but his arm won't allow him to get it there. Mac is going to know that if he just does this with his feet, the play will work, but he just won't be able to do it with his feet. I've said this all off season. I'm not a Mac Jones hater. I'm a Mac Jones realist. I'm just telling you the truth. He is good. There are limitations, though. He's going to need a hell of a lot of help if we want the Patriots to get back to AFC Championship and Super Bowl contention. So when Josh McDaniels says he's prepared, he works hard, he studies hard, he's got great habits, that's all true, and that's all good. But at some point, it's going to come down to, can you do the things that you know you're supposed to do? And I don't trust that he can do all of those things as often as he'll need to for the Patriots to be great. I keep coming back to Kirk Cousins. I've made this analogy all season long. Heck, I made it before the Patriots drafted him. Kirk Cousins has all the things that Josh McDaniels has said. And how many times has Kirk Cousins been in the playoffs? I think 3. 2 with Washington and 1 with Minnesota. Kirk Cousins plays with Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson, and he plays indoors, and he plays in a division that's not really that good. He's got a lot of things going right for him. And he's been in the playoffs once in Minnesota. And he had Stephon Diggs previously. He just can't do everything that you need to do, and I fear that that's going to be Mac Jones. I do. You have a good quarterback, Patriots fans, but you don't have great. And if you want to be in the consistent mix all the time, you're going to need great. Good can get you to the door once in a while. Ryan Tannehill has been to the AFC title game, and he got the number 1 seed. Ryan Tannehill is good. But when it really comes down to, is Ryan Tannehill great? We saw what happened in that wild card game against the divisional round game against the Bengals. I bet Tua could go on one special run. Do you trust him to be great enough to get the Dolphins into the AFC title game every year? I don't. Baker Mayfield went on one special run last year. Is Baker Mayfield that special? No. Maybe Mac Jones is a little bit better than Baker Mayfield. Maybe he's a little bit better than Tua, but I really doubt that he has the special to put you in that conversation every single year. I appreciate what Josh McDaniels says, and I believe that Josh McDaniels means it about Mac Jones, and I believe that it's all true. It's just going to come down to more than his head at some point. McDaniels also talked about why he took the Raiders job and left the Patriots.
To me, this was just an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up. I've waited a long time to try to have an opportunity to do this. I wanted to really try to, improve and take whatever time necessary I needed to try to do it really well as best I could. And I felt like I've done that.
I don't begrudge Josh McDaniels for leaving. Now, I begrudge him for taking multiple staffers with him. I can begrudge him for what he did to Indy a few years ago and look down upon that, but I don't look down upon Josh McDaniels for leaving. And I think what he said there is perfectly fair. This was the time. You only get so many chances to accomplish your dream, and eventually you just have to do it. I don't think it would have been smart for him to wait for the Patriots job. I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he would have gotten it. I don't think it would have been smart to just stay as an offensive coordinator. He's already accomplished everything that he can do there. I don't look down upon somebody who's put in the time, who has a goal, and who wants to challenge himself. I can dislike certain things about how Josh McDaniels got to this place, but I can't lament the fact that he's in this place now. He should have taken this opportunity. I said all along, if I was the Raiders, I wouldn't have hired him, but that's a different conversation. I don't lament Josh McDaniels for taking a chance on himself. This was the time. So there you heard it from the horse's mouth. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. High school basketball tips off in about 20 minutes. We'll get you out there in about 15 minutes with Brent Curtis on the call. When we come back, I caught a lot of grief yesterday on social media for what I said about UVM men's basketball's draw in the America East Conference tournament. Well, newsflash. Like I always say, two things can be true at once. I'll tell you what those two things that are true in this case at the same time next on the Brady Farkas Show on DEV.
In 1973, firefighter Gary Thurston died in the line of duty in a tragic barn fire. The Randolph Village Fire Department honors his memory every year with scholarships to local high school graduates. They raise money for the scholarships with a bowling tournament at our bowling center, Valley Bowl in Randolph. This year, it's the last weekend in February and the first weekend in March. You can email me at karensproshop@gmail.com, and I can send you all the details. Bring a team, come as a double or even a single. Bring friends and family. It's open to all. It's fun and for a great cause, the Gary Thurston Memorial Tournament. Also, thanks to all who came to our recent demo day. It was a great turnout, and the staff from Brunswick helped many people get into the balls best for their styles of bowling. If you need a new ball or want to revive your old ball to like new condition, I'm your gal. Valley Bowl in Randolph, down under the Main Street Bridge, and Karen Pro Shop. As always, I'd love to handle your equipment.
We all know that Vermont is a place like no other. Join host Ricks and Gary for Vermont Viewpoint, weekday mornings from 9 to 11, as he celebrates what makes Vermont so unique and special. If you can't listen live, you can always listen to the free podcast available at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by the Warren Store. Funky, friendly, and almost world-famous WarrenStore.com. The Vermont Viewpoint podcast at WDEVradio.com.
At Lamoille Valley Ford, we sell more than just brand new vehicles. Right, kid?
Thanks, Dan. Folks, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we have over 100 pre-owned vehicles available, including the largest inventory of certified pre-owned Fords in the state. CPOs give you peace of mind after going through a 172-point safety inspection. We include a 100,000-mile warranty, which is actually better than a brand-new car. Also, qualified buyers can get as low as 2.9% financing. At Lamoille Valley Ford, you won't just find Fords. We stock Subarus, Hondas, and Toyotas. many of which are handpicked from areas of the country that do not see harsh winters and the salt brine used in Vermont. We also offer a frame-saving fluid film undercoating to keep your new-to-you car, truck, or SUV going strong for years to come, because you and your hard-earned money deserve it.
So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and get a certified pre-owned car, truck, or SUV at Lamoille Valley Ford. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we know price matters.
Early on, WDEV owner Lloyd Squire set the mission.
No business or service exists entirely within itself. It must be a part of the area in which it lives, not just as a member of the community, but as a contributor to the life of that area.
Over the decades, we feel WDEV has made valuable contributions, including local high school and college sports, and expanding our offerings with podcasts and our reach with streaming. Advancements my dad couldn't even have anticipated. What's next?
We don't know, but we're hoping you'll help us experience it together. You can support WDEV with a gift of $90 to celebrate our 90 years and help ensure 90 more. You can send checks to P.O. Box 550, Waterbury, Vermont, 05676, or make credit card payments online at WDEVradio.com. We've been on this journey together. Let's continue it that way. Thank you.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school. They're online at ProDriverCDL.com. They have facilities in Enosburg and in Milton. They can help you with your Class A CDL, your Class B CDL, passenger and advanced skills training as well. There's book work, and then there's real-life application of that book work on the course as well. Qualified instructors could be the next great step in your career. It's Pro Driver CDL, and again, that's ProDriverCDL.com. I caught heat last night on social media for my thoughts on the America East men's basketball conference tournament bracket. So, I mean, here's how it stands, right? UVM is the 1 seed, and they're taking on NJIT, and that game's going to be Sunday at 2 o'clock at Patrick Gym. Where I caught the heat was, I said I didn't like to see, as a UVM fan, that Hartford is on the 4 line. Hartford, who was, left for nothing when UVM played them earlier in the year, then all of a sudden came up and got hot and got the 4 seed. So they're going to play 5th seeded UAlbany. If the bracket works how it's supposed to, if all the favorites win, UVM is going to play Hartford in the semifinals. And I made a comment like, hey, that makes me nervous. Hartford is the team I don't want to see. And I caught grief from people saying, hey, UVM wins 17-1 in the league. You've said you thought they could win an NCAA tournament game. You can't have it both ways. You can't say they're going to win the tournament game and then be afraid of Hartford. Yes, I can. Of course I can say that. 2 things can be true at the same time. 2 things are true at the same time here. On one hand, Vermont dominated its league. Vermont has maybe the 2 best players in the league in Ryan Davis and Ben Shungu. Vermont is excellent. If they get into an NCAA tournament and they get a proper seed and a proper matchup with a team that doesn't know them that well, they absolutely can pull an upset. Get hot from 3, hit 10 threes. Davis and Shungu go off. Deloney comes off the bench and Vermont absolutely can win a tournament game. I don't know if they will, but they can. It can also be true that within their league, a league that they dominated, I can be nervous about a potential opponent. And I am nervous about Hartford. Hartford was 3-6 when UVM played them and lost. That was UVM's only loss, was to Hartford. Hartford was 3-6 in the league. They went after that stretch, they went 5-3, or they went 6-3 down the stretch. So Hartford got hot, has played well of late here. They've beaten UVM 2 of the last 3 times they've played, including last year in the conference semifinals and this year. So, yes, Hartford is a team that makes me nervous. Stony Brook's not in this tournament, so they're a team I would be nervous about. They're not here. UMBC doesn't worry me at all. Albany doesn't worry me at all. UMass, Lowell, NJIT, none of these teams worry me. The team that worries me is Hartford. It's hard to when you play a team 3 times and there's all the tape on you, these two teams know each other. Austin Williams and Moses Flowers are phenomenal scorers and phenomenal athletes for Hartford. I don't think that I'm sandbagging at all. UVM can win an NCAA tournament game. If they're going to lose in the league tournament, Hartford is the team that I think they'd lose to. They're the team that I'd fear. I'd like to put off playing Hartford as long as possible. I'd rather see Hartford in a championship game that's nationally televised, that's sold out, that has a student presence to it, that's played on a weekend, not played on a sleepy weeknight. I think that's perfectly fair. I got, called out for saying, like, how dare you be worried about Hartford after how good UVM was? You must not think they're that good. No, I think they're that good. Hartford is a team that's hot, that's beaten you in the playoffs, that's beaten you on your home floor, and has the only other scorer in the league probably that can take over a game in the way that yours can. So, yes, both things can be true. 802-585-3026. But, yeah, UVM is going to play in the conference tournament opener. That's going to be Sunday, Patrick Gym, 2 o'clock against NJIT. Go to the women's game tomorrow. Remember, Catamounts, first home playoff game for the UVM women in 21 years. It's at 2:30 tomorrow at Patrick Gym. They're taking on Binghamton. UVM got the 3 seed. 13-5 for the Catamounts in league play this year. An unbelievable turnaround. Remember, they didn't finish the season last year because COVID was so tough on them. They walked away from the season in January and said, you know what, it's just not worth it. We're opting out. And here they are this year, 13-5. They've got a starting 5 that really, look, UVM gets almost nothing from their bench. It's going to all come from Emma Otterbeck and Deloney Richardson and Josie Larkins and Anna Olsen. It's going to come from those 4, really. So if they stay out of foul trouble, they should win tomorrow against Binghamton because they need all their scoring to come from those girls. But it's going to be a fun environment tomorrow at Patrick. Go support it. 2:30 tomorrow. All right, let's catch up on the text line a bit here. Ray, who's over in Warren, says, I only have issues. Oh, he's going back to yesterday. Okay. I only have issues with your thoughts about Russian athletes of any age being accepted in anything. Yes, it is not their fight, but it will hopefully send a message to the good people of Russia that what is being done is unacceptable. Yes, you pay for what your country does. I disagree, Ray, and we don't have enough time to get into all of it from yesterday. I'm not saying that all Russian athletes should be allowed to compete. I don't think that Russian national teams should be allowed to compete, adult national teams. We're talking about hockey teams at the World Juniors, hockey teams at the Ice Hockey Worlds. We're talking about volleyball teams. We're talking about World Cup qualifiers. I'm not interested in letting Russian teams with their flag, waving, participate. 16-year-olds trying to get drafted into the Canadian Hockey League who want to leave Russia and come west, why do they have to pay? I don't believe that is fair. And by the way, there's an NHL hockey agent who reps a lot of Russian players. So obviously, yes, he's got a monetary or a business motive for supporting them. He's also Ukrainian himself. He said, look, I'm Ukrainian. I want peace. But what is happening to these Russian athletes, the discrimination that they're facing, that is not fair. And when it's a 16-year-old looking to play in the Canadian Hockey League and all of a sudden they're going to be banned, that's discrimination. That's a discriminatory practice, and I don't believe that would be fair. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're going to get you out to high school basketball. Brady Farkas Show here on this Friday. Go check out the podcast, which is available after the show on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Thanks to everybody who got in on the YouTube channel as well as the Facebook Live channel. So we will see you on Monday. Thanks to Rick Pigeon as well for stopping by, the NASCAR longtime pit crew member. He was with us at 5:45. His interview also available on the podcast channel. The NASCAR Cup Series continues on this weekend in Vegas. That is Sunday. Tonight, here's our weekend schedule quick before I get out of here. Mount Abe and Montpelier, D2 boys, 6:45. Tomorrow, D2 girls, the state championship, Spalding at Mount Abe, 3:30 with our coverage there. And later at night, 6:45, Hartford at Spalding. That's another D2 quarterfinals. So, and then the NASCAR race on Sunday. I will see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there. And Brady Farkas Show will be back then on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks Nyquil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. That's better. Nyquil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching.